Welcome back. Today we are going to learn how to group data using group by in SQL. So let's get started. First, let's understand how group by works. So here's the syntax for the group by, where we are selecting two columns and a third value that's calculated using an aggregated function on column 3 from a table, and then we are grouping the data based on column 1 and column 2. This aggregate function can be functions something like sum, average, count, maximum, minimum, etc. And as we are grouping the data using these two columns, so it means that for every unique combination of these two columns, the query will gather all the missing rows from these two columns and aggregate the values from this column 3 for each of this group. Let's see an example. Let's say we want to know how many times each customer has made payments. First, let's see what data we have in our payment table. So we can say, let's say select star from payment. We will delete this part for now. So now we can see that there's a payment ID, customer ID, amount, staff ID, rental ID, and payment date. So as we are going to see how many payments a customer has made, we will only need customer ID and payment ID so that we can count the number of payments. And payment ID is unique. So by counting the payment ID will eventually give us the number of payments a customer made. Let's select customer ID. Then we are going to do a count of our payment ID. This will return us the ID of the customer, and this part will give us a count of number of payment IDs from payment. And now we need to group this data for each customer, as we want to see that how many payments are made by each customer. So we will add group by clause now. And we will group this data based on customer ID. Now it should show us how many payments each customer made. So let's execute it. So now we can see that the customer with ID 184 made 20 payments, ID with 87 made 28 payments, and so on. But knowing how many payments are made doesn't always tell us the full story. Let's see how much each customer paid instead of counting the number of payments. So instead of counting the payments, we'll sum the amount to get the total amount paid by a customer. So let's replace this count with sum and replace this payment ID with amount column. Now it should give us the sum of the amount paid by this customer, as we are grouping the data with customer ID. So let's execute it. So now we can see that instead of number of payments, we can see that one customer with 184 has paid 80, 87 has paid 37, and so on. Now let's say we want to show the highest paying customer at the top. So we already have our total amount paid by this customer. Now we only need to sort this result in ascending order so that the customer paid the highest amount is at the top. So let's sorting by adding the order by clause, and we are going to sort this based on the total amount, that is this sum amount. Now this should show us the highest paying customer at the top. Oh, sorry, I haven't specified like to sort it in descending order, so it by default sorted in ascending order. So that's why we're seeing the lowest paying customer. Now it should give us the highest paying customer first. So So far we have seen customer IDs and payment amounts. In future lessons we will learn how to join this payment data with the customer table to get the full details of each customer. So now try to find out how many payments were processed by each staff member and come back once you are done and follow along. So it's normal that payments made by a customer can be handled by different staff members. For example, customers with 148, the first payment might be processed by staff 1 and the second payment might be processed by staff 2. So let's see how to get the total amount paid by each customer to each staff member. So we already have our total amount paid by each customer, and now we need to add our staff member ID. So I will add staff ID. And we need to add this staff ID in our group by clause as well. So this will group all our data for each combination of customer ID and staff ID. Let's say customer ID 148 has a payment with staff 1, also has a payment with staff 2. It will have two groups. Okay, so it's already ordered by the total amount paid. Let's order it by our customer ID. Now we can see that the sum of the payment made by customer 1 is processed by staff 2 and some are processed by staff 1. We can also include how many payments each staff processed for each customer. So just do a count of payment ID. So what it's going to do is it will select the customer ID, then staff ID, then it will do a sum of amount and a count of payment ID. From the payment table, and then it will group this data based on customer ID and staff ID. After grouping this data, it will update this total amount and the count of payment ID for each of this group, and then it will order the result based on customer ID. So let's execute it. So now we can see that staff 2 has processed a sum of 53, while staff 1 has processed sum of 60 and total 15 payment for customer 1. Now we see both the total amount and the number of payments processed by each staff for each customer. Let's see one more example. Let's calculate the total payment by date. That is how much payment was made each day. So let's select payment date. And then I'm going to cast it to date. So it will give us only the date portion of our payment date column. And I'm going to rename this column as payment date. And then we will get the sum of amount. So this will actually calculate the sum of amount for each day from the payment. So we need to group our data based on this date. And we don't have any customer ID to order this, but we can order it based on this date as well, and it will be in ascending order. Yeah, so now we can see how much payment was made each day. That's it for today. In the next lesson, we will learn how to use having clause to filter grouped data. Thanks for watching. and I will see you in the next one.